Today we talk about the first expansion of the game Omen. The expansion is called Shattered Aegis, and it comes in a VHS box, which is pretty neat because your spouse doesn't want you to buy new games. Well, you just come home and say, look, I rented a movie. You don't show it exactly. You don't show exactly what it is, and then you just hide it together with your other movies. First expansion of the game Omen, not a standalone expansion. You do need the basic set, but here you have new cards, new characters, new variants in which you can play the game. And you may have noticed that on the cover there is a picture of yours truly, no less. Which is a great gift that the artist and the publisher of the game decided to give me after they saw my original video for the game. And you may wonder, is this going to be a factor in this review? Is it going to affect my objectivity in reviewing the game? Yes, of course it is. Are you kidding me? You try and review a game where you're on the cover like this with all these muscles and all, and you try to be objective. If you manage to do so, then you can judge me, and hats off to you. Until then, you will have to deal with my completely biased review of this expansion, but at least I warned you, so maybe that is already something. In this expansion you will find 16 new characters, 16 new units, including 4 new oracles, 4 new beasts, and 8 new soldiers. 2 player aids, very useful and convenient if you're teaching the game to a new player. A couple of cards explaining how to use the expansion and how to play several possible variants of the game. Cards that you need to actually be able to play the variants. And you also have a bunch of coins. I don't know exactly how many, because in this bag I have both the coins from the original game and the coins from the expansion. Let's say that probably, well, half of these probably come from the expansion. As for the new oracles, you had the Seeker of Serenity, a classic oracle similar to the ones in the basic game. This oracle will just give you resources, but then you start having the aggressive oracles. This oracle here, for example, as one of the possible effects, may be able to send an oracle of the opponent back to the opponent's hand, and it will be kind of annoying because the opponent has to play coins again to bring the oracle back. So annoying, but not hugely so. But 2 oracles that really feel different from previous oracles are these ones. These are the nasty oracles. So look at this one. This one, during your opponent step, the opposing player discards 1 card every turn as the standard effect during the portent phase. And this one similarly forces the other player to lose a coin. As you can imagine, if a player is using these 2 oracles combined, the opponent is going to have a really hard time catching up. It is not impossible. I don't think they are a game breaker, but they can definitely impact the game. You need to find ways to take those oracles out of the game as soon as possible. Beasts, we have the Molten Phoenix that, if used for its card effect, allows you to put an oracle and a soldier from the discard pile back to your hand. The Cloud of Furies, the card effect is that you discard it, pay the cost, and then you go through the deck and you place the other Clouds of Furies into your hand. So it can be good because it is particularly cheap. So for just 1 coin you get these 2 cards. Then that, if nothing else, you can slay during the offering phase for a pretty good value. Fortuitous Dryad, tricky card, because the card effect is that it can flip any face-up feat face down, or you can choose a face-down feat and flip it face-up. That means that for the cost of 3 coins you can accomplish a feat, or you can annul a feat accomplished by the opponent. And while this may seem like a game breaker, it hasn't really been to me in my group. Maybe it is because we tend to play the draft game when all the cards are shuffled together, so maybe in a game a player will get 1 and the player will get none, or a player will get 2 of these and the player will get 1. It hasn't created huge imbalances. I think that if you play the game where the players select their decks and a player has the Dryad and the other player has none, then maybe then you will have a problem. But again, if you play the draft game, I just haven't seen that happening. And then you have the Thunder Cyclops, very heavy hitter, very good to win wars, but also his effect is interesting. He can enrage up to 3 units. Enrage is a new effect that you have in this expansion. To enrage a card, and the card has to be a non-beast, it means that that card is flipped face down, and for that turn, that card counts as a beast with a strength of 4. So first, many creatures will receive a better strength because they become temporarily a beast, but also being a beast, now they raise the number of units that are present in a city. That may allow you to trigger a war, it may allow you to accomplish a feat based on beasts, so it can be pretty useful. Let's take a look at the soldiers. We have soldiers that exploit the other player's cards. This soldier mimics the ability of a soldier belonging to the opponent and being present in the same city. And in a similar way, the little goth girl can use the ability of an oracle belonging to the other player. Then we have soldiers that interact with other cards. For example, this soldier here, when you play him, you can also discard a beast and use the discarded beast's ability. So he's a good fighter and he allows you to use a beast. So not only does he have the best illustration in the game, but he's also pretty useful. The Grim Merchant converts soldiers from your hand into coins, and similarly, the Blood Priest converts an oracle card into a number of cards that you draw. What he does is he sacrifices oracles. I don't know, it doesn't seem ethical, but that's what he does. As for the other cards, you have the awesome player aids, as I mentioned earlier, very well organized and extremely useful. Then you have the Emissary of War, a first player variant that is a variant of how to start the game and how you decide who goes first. Also, it is a variant that gives another disadvantage to the player that goes first. There is a slight disadvantage in the mechanics of the basic game, but sometimes, well, in spite of that disadvantage, the first player still seems to have an edge on the other player. I like this variant because it evens things out even more. Now we always start with this variant procedure, which I'm not showing to you, because otherwise you could use it without buying the expansion, and that wouldn't be fair to the designer, would it? Now, a really innovative variant is the test of skill. If you combine the original game with the expansion, now you have 40 different characters. That means that each player can play with a deck that includes one copy of each unit from the base game and the expansion. That means that players can explore the full range of combos that can be created by using different cards, and also it means that players are using identical decks, which is pretty interesting too. And then you have the Grand Melee, a 4-player variant. Some players may find it debatable whether or not this is really 4-player, because this variant allows you to play a mini tournament. 2 players will play against each other, then the other 2 players will play against each other, and the winners will confront each other, and you'll see who the winner of the Grand Melee is. So it really is a mini tournament. And the game comes, the expansion comes with new sets of feats, 6 for each player, and enough new boons and other rewards from the cities that will allow you to build another city, so that 4 players can play at the same time. There are card games like Nightfall or Resident Evil that after a while that you play them, you really feel that you need an expansion to keep things fresh. Not with the original Omen. We were playing it and still having a lot of fun just with the original set, because the game is so good. It has so many layers that you can discover. But after trying the expansion, of course, we wouldn't be able to go back, because the expansion makes things even more awesome. Especially because I like to play the draft game with all cards shuffled together in a monster deck that both players draw from. Sure, it increases the lag factor, but to me the increased number of combos that you can use makes up for that. It still makes the game more interesting and fun. I like that, looking for an opportunity and then jumping at a good combo when you can create it. Even if you're playing the regular game, I mean the deck building variant, the deck selecting variant, having more decks clearly is an advantage, and to me just having more cards shuffled in the monster deck makes things more interesting. The new cards are powerful, yes, but not to the point that they break the game, I think. I've still seen games where players manage to win relying mostly on cards from the basic set. It is really about mixing and matching and using cards well rather than just rely on some overpowerful or apparently overpowerful cards. I like the variants. The first player variant has become standard procedure in my game, in my group. We like the 4-player variant because we often have more than 2 players that want to play Omen at the same time, and of course being able to do that with more units and more variety again than if you just buy 2 copies of the game is much better, is more fun, more replay value. As ridiculously biased as I clearly am about this expansion, well, I'm still shamelessly going to recommend it to you, tell you that I think it is a very good expansion, and I hope that you pick up a copy.